So this video actually starts like almost 2 years ago. Alright, so I don't really have a plan for this video. I just want to start something new. For those of you that have listened to the legendary rock opera album by Pink Floyd, The Wall, I want to do a 9-part series that basically tells the entire plot of the album. So these will all be vignettes, not like fake vignettes like 12 by 12 or something, real mocks, and bring that to Brickworld next year or something. I already have this like concept in mind for how these bricks could work. I took some white tiles, which I got at Pick a Brick in Brickworld, Chicago. Those seemed super useful at the time, and then they came into use not that much later. You couldn't really go wrong with something like white tiles. And then there's just like this filler 2x2 brick, and then on one side there's a Technic 1x2 with 2 studs, and then on the other side there's a brick with studs on with 2 studs on the side, and then on either of those sides 1x2 stuck into it, which should allow all of them to connect in a big row. So the idea is basically that we could put like a tile going across the top, which would be the top grout, which is really starting to look like a brick wall now. And then you would basically make a whole separate unit of this that would go on top of this. So you wouldn't need tiles on the bottom. But here's the big problem that I'm sure some of you are at least noticing now. It's gonna take 5 additional bricks on top of that until these studs will line up again. If I'm correct, I think they should. And they do. There's one problem here. What I was thinking is like, oh, if I had long enough tiles, I could just kind of like put them on one stud and see if they span the entire, at least half the way down, but there's just not long enough light gray tiles. So basically what I'm getting at is that we got to come up with something new. One thing we could do, actually, now that I think about it, is just make the grout too wide. I have a feeling that's going to look kind of weird. Yeah, I just feel like based on looking at the album cover, this is just going to be too wide for how the bricks are going to be. Okay, so what I'm actually thinking, this is a little bit later, is that we just make the bricks quadruple the size. It'll make the display a lot bigger, which I think it probably needs to be. The biggest reason that I want to make them bigger is that we can just make the grout too wide at that point. And they'll also probably look bigger actually. When they're bigger, the too wide grout won't look weird, and then we can just make a big long strip of plates and tiles, not the ones in the column. The column doesn't really matter that much.
Now that everybody's home, for the next few months, I thought I would pick this project back up again because I really liked the idea. I really liked this piece that we came up with here. I'm just going to make it more contained. We're just going to do basically one image, which is this guy's face like morphing out of like a concrete wall sort of thing. I don't know. I think it's a crazy looking image. And that's going to be the thing that's in one big hole in the wall. So it'll be this image sort of framed by by this brick texture here. Definitely a departure from the couple builds that I've done over the last few years though. So this is pretty much the final look that I came up with. I just think it came out awesome. Like, it has a way of looking really simple, but also just mesmerizing in a certain way, because it's not a look that you often see done with Lego. If I don't end up finishing this project, I definitely want to reuse this somewhere. The back looks a little bit gnarly, but it's really just, the same row 3 times, and then these pillars that have a strange offset to them. Basically, the thing we were trying to solve is setting it up so that each brick has a dip in it so that there can be a connecting plate here, and this grout tile can slot in there, like that. Lots of Technic bricks and bricks with studs on the sides. So I have practically no experience building anything like this. So I wanted primarily just like a palette to begin working off of. So that's how I came up with this, which is like, a rough outline of a face in that shape. And then I can start going from here and tearing stuff off and adding stuff or whatever. Obviously, making rounded things in Lego is pretty difficult, even when you have curved pieces. So I'm hoping that by adding curved pieces at angles on these sloped sections, like up here, will be enough to make it look, I don't know, right? I also got to use some of these new triangle tiles, which are much better than the 45-degree slopes, because these are actually 45 degrees, whereas the other ones are some weird thing and they have these stupid gaps like what these slopes have. But I thought there were two cool techniques that were worth talking about here. So that's how I'm gonna wrap up this video. So primarily the thing that I thought was cool is the way that these side things attach here, which are just a way to get this curved slope on the side of these tiles, flush with the top. So there's this little bit here, just has some of these. And then to get this just weird adjustment, I'm gonna use some Technic pieces that are the ones that have friction in them, and you just gotta like push it to where you feel like is the right place by adjusting both of these. Probably pull this one out a little bit so it's even with the other. So I thought that was pretty nifty to get that. This one on the bottom, the bigger slope, the one with the 12 long slopes, is fundamentally the same thing. It's just on a bigger scale. So you have this central unit here that has something similar in it, and then another little adjustment right there to pull it inwards and upwards into the right location. When it's time to slot it in, I'll get this at a lower angle. I'll get this hinge at a lower angle than it should be, just so it gets like pushed into the right spot. Line it up like that, and then just sort of push it in, and it should be roughly as flush as you'll be able to get realistically, I think, unless there's just a way better way to go about this that I don't know about. Thought I'd get a little change of scenery. Can't imagine Lego builders too good at that these days, so I take you guys out here with me. That's gonna do it for this video. I guess we made a reasonable amount of progress. Extrapolate that over 2 years, not so much. I don't know when I'm gonna keep working on this project, or I'll finish it, or when the next video will be. I'm just sort of working on Lego stuff whenever I feel like it. The thing that gets most of my attention in regards to Lego is definitely Rebbl.ug. I realize we never made a video, just what is Rebbl.ug? A very informative type of thing. We just started doing stuff a few years ago, but that's been where almost all of my time goes in regards to organizing some crazy collaborations, like some stuff we have coming up amongst our members, 24 of the best builders on the planet working on stuff together. And we're frequently hosting contests with some pretty big dollar prizes courtesy of Lego. So huge shout out to Lego for, supporting communities and people like us. So if you don't know what Rebbl.ug is, Rebbl.ug.com, or at Rebbl.ug on Instagram, or we have a YouTube channel where we'll post stuff if there's stuff to post. Anyway, hope to see you guys at this upcoming convention season if it ends up happening. Most things haven't been canceled yet, but that might change in the next few days. I don't know. I'll see you guys in whatever the next video is.